Welcome to All Wheel Driven, a podcast by Audi Club North America, where we explore all things Audi and the incredible people who bring it to life. All Wheel Driven is presented by Expel, the official paint protection film of Audi Club. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to All Wheel Driven, the Audi podcast from Audi Club of North America. I am your host, Joe Kaczynski. Today's episode is a very special one. We are sitting down with one of the most recognizable and respected figures in motorsports, professional race car driver, vehicle development expert, longtime Audi champion, Randy Pobst, from championship wins, record-setting laps, helping to shape some of Audi's most iconic performance cars. Randy's career touches every aspect of Audi's four rings. So, Randy, thank you so much for joining us today. It is our pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Joe. I'm embarrassed. I might even be blushing here, but I've been around, and I got some amazing Audi history.
You do. We definitely want to get into all that. With the start of your career and so forth. I know for me personally, just share a quick story. I became familiar with Randy from when I first joined SCCA many years ago, and they were publishing the sports car. I think it was called Sports Car Magazine at the time. And every issue there was Randy wins this, Randy wins that, Randy wins. Like, who's this Randy guy? He's here. He's on everything. And then you started contributing regularly to the magazine and so forth. So I have seen your face and read your words for many, many years. So it's a real pleasure to sit down and talk with you. It really is. So
thank you, Joe. Likewise.
Absolutely.
What's your background? Have you done some racing or are a street car enthusiast? Or?
Sure. A little bit of both. Just mild. I got my SCCA racing license a few years ago. Do some HPDE instruction and so forth. Been a member of the Porsche Club for 23 years or so now, and more recently, joined the Audi ranks. And I'm a tiny little microcosm of Randy. Just you distilled down about 1,000%.
That's probably good.
Yeah. But
I had an old friend. He said, "I really like you, Randy, in small doses."
So that's how I got to know you, and I, obviously have been reading about you for a long time. But for our listeners and viewers out there, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little background on how you got started in motorsports and some key moments in your career.
Well, I was born with a toy car in my hand. That's what Mom said. So I'm dyed-in-the-wool car enthusiast, top to bottom, end to end. And when the first day I drove was like the best day of my life. Do you remember that? When you got your license and the first time you drove a car? And it was my dad's 67 Cougar. And I found I liked the corners. I rode motorcycles a lot. I'm really a bike guy. That's kind of a secret. I have 14 of them, and I like corners. I wasn't into the big horsepower, so in high school, my first car was a Fiat 850 Spider. Tiny car, but boy, does it handle well, and it revved out so nice. That led me to the sport of autocross. That's where my competition career started after doing some like street racing on the back roads. And in Melbourne, Florida, there was a place called Palm Bay. They were going to do a giant development there in the 50s or 60s. Never worked, but they built the roads. So us hooligans, we'd go out there late at night, way in the back. I mean, there were miles of them, and pick out a race course and run around there. I had a Datsun 510 two-door, a 72 Datsun 510. And my buddy Larry had a Datsun Roadster. Anyway, I started in autocross, desperately wanted to road race. And after I graduated from college, I saved every penny I made for 2 years and bought a VW Cup Volkswagen Golf and started racing. And the funny thing is, my first race ever was a pro race. I managed to work the rules. I did a couple of SCCA schools in the Southeast and got a provisional license with the SCCA, which was enough to get me a license at IMSA. So I raced at Sebring in Firestone Firehawk. It was called Compact Division with the same car as the Volkswagen Cup. And I had never run a road race before in my life. So, but I autocrossed a lot. I won several national championships in college. So I knew how to drive, but I sure didn't know how to race. And I remember being out there with those guys thinking, I don't belong here. And guess what? I finished second. By that much, it is still the closest finish for a win that I ever had. Well, I wanted to win. I was second.
Right.
I mean, it was a bumper. And on the podium, there were these brothers, the Hacker brothers from New York. Great racers. They knew experience. They knew what they were doing. I was just a total rookie. I apologize to you, Paul and Carl, for all the dumb stuff I did. But one of them looks at me. He goes, "Who are you?" I said, "Well, I've done a lot of autocross." And he goes, "Man, you're going to have a great career." And well, I think he's right. I'm really lucky to have been road racing. I ran my own car for a couple of years till I ran out of money. And then a wonderful guy named T.C. Klein hired me to drive his Hondas in Firestone Firehawk. And that's where my pro career took off. And it was TC got me started. We won the first two races I did with him. Kind of done that a lot in my career. It's a good way to start off with a team is to win the first race you do with them.
Right, for sure. That's amazing. You know, it's funny too to make that jump from autocross right to a pro race, because you hear sometimes, you know, folks say, "Oh, well, you know, the autocross, yeah, it's great for car control, but it doesn't necessarily translate to the track because you want to turn in too early or something like that." But you seem to be proof that, you know, you made it work. You made it work, right? Right off the bat.
That's some good breaks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that started your professional racing career pretty much right off the bat, right? So how did you grow that? What were your next steps? You had the taste, you had your foot in the door, and then how'd you bust through that door and keep going?
It's funny. This was 1985, and I still own that car. It's being restored. I'm going to vintage race it a little bit here pretty soon. It's out in Denver with a guy named Sterling Chase, who is an amazing guy. He's famous for ringing the bell at the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, which is another event I've done lately, which is really cool. I've done so many fun, cool things. Very lucky. But guess what? After racing my own VW Golf, with a little help from what was called Autocross Magazine, which is now Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, I'm a grassroots guy. You could tell. My dad was in the Air Force. I'm a military brat. He had 3 kids. And so we started out small. And as an autocrosser, grassroots used to be autocross. I did a little bit of riding for them. My VW Golf was on the cover of one of their early issues in about 1986. And now I'm riding for them again. I do a column there. Since SCCA Sports Car is no longer a print monthly magazine. Plus, yeah, another thing I liked about Grassroots Motorsports was it gave me more freedom to write on a broader range of topics. The reason I started writing the column for the SCCA magazine, there was a guy named Richard James, who was the editor, who actually contacted me about maybe writing for him. I've done a few articles and road tests, and I thought, man, that's a monthly commitment. I don't know, but I had been beat up by another driver who got mad at me for racing him too hard early in a race. I never hit the guy, and I was trying to make him use up his tires. And anyway, it made him angry, and he basically tried to kill me at the next race. And I've always resented it, still do. But I thought, here's my chance. I can write an article about that. I said, intimidation is a normal part of any good, strong sport. You are trying to win within the rules structure a fair, hard battle, which is the way a race should be. And that's afterwards, you can look each other in the eye and say, man, good race. I lost, but good race. My whole idea of writing this column was to reduce crashing. And especially when it came to these instances where there was a great chief steward who was a racer in IndyCar. You might remember the name Wally Dallenbach. And then his son, Wally Dallenbach Jr., and Paul Dallenbach have done a bunch of racing. Wally Dallenbach was a highly respected chief steward for IndyCar. And one of the things that I heard much later that he would say at the beginning of every one of his meetings was, I will not tolerate my drivers using their car as a weapon. And boy, do we need that now. Problem is, this kind of driving is good for views. So racers, do not do what you see in Formula One and NASCAR. Those are those races. Is that the primary thing they're doing? Is putting on races? No, they're corporations. The primary thing they're doing is making money. And this drama and some crashing, it makes money. It makes me look, when I hear something stupid happened, I go look it up on the internet and find out, Verstappen ran over Hamilton and landed right on top of him. And,
Right.
and then I complain about it and write an article. I didn't name names or, even say when or where or anything that it was. But boy, it touched me deep because this guy, and the line that I used was, he hit me. I got all sideways in a fast corner at Road Atlanta. They're all fast at Road Atlanta except 10A now. But anyway, I was able to catch the car. Now I'm behind him. And we go down to, this is in turn 4. I'm turn 6, I catch him. And I'm thinking, like, should I punt this turkey into the gravel trap? If I could go back? Yes. At the time, we're running 4th. The car's already got big dents in it from this guy running into me because he was mad at me from the other series. And I thought, he did his deal. Let's go. So I pass him. We go into 7. He hits me again. He's got no brakes. He used me as the brakes. And I'm like, wow, again? I just felt so beat up, and it worked. That guy was under my skin and still is, because I'm like, wow, he's willing to do some really crazy stuff. And I've seen him do it to many other drivers, but I don't like it. So my goal is to also teach people how to race better so that they don't get in those situations. It was a long time before I figured all this out. I really believe that I know what it takes to make a clean, safe pass in many situations. It's what I call the vortex of danger, and I wrote about that too. Don't hit what you can see. And when that car ahead of you is going in the corner, he can't see you anymore. It's too late to make a passing attempt. And when people know that and understand it, experienced racers do know it and understand it. But you know what? They can't describe it. They know it, but they can't tell you what it is because they just know from the feel. And all that was a whole kind of journalism side to my car career. I mean, I've always been a driver first. I can work on cars and I actually enjoy it. But that's not where my real skill or love is. It's the driving for sure.
For sure, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. So Randy, speaking of driving, let's turn our attention a little bit to your Audi career and your relationship with the four rings, right? How did you first get involved with the Audi brand? Talk us through that a little bit, if you don't mind.
I bought an Audi Fox in 1978. It was about a 1971 model with the little bumpers. It was an interesting situation. In 2001, I had a factory contract with Porsche. And I don't mean I raced a Porsche. I raced for Porsche. And very few Americans have ever gotten to do that. That only lasted a year. So in 2002, I didn't have a great ride. Well, actually, I did. I was racing a Porsche still in IMSA. But, you know, it was kind of a letdown after a Porsche factory contract. Well, then I got a phone call from Mitch Wright at the SCCA. He was running SCCA Pro Racing. Hell of a guy, really good racer himself. And Mitch had suggested my name to a race team, 3R Racing from Denver, Colorado. Bob Robb running it, and Tim Weems was the owner. And Tim was racing, and they wanted a pro in the other car. And Mitch suggested me. This was Porsche's. And I came in and had a really good season with them. And towards the end of 2002, I'm talking to Tim. Hey, what are we doing next year? Well, I don't know if I'm going to run again. I may or may not. We get to the awards banquet. After the banquet, Dave Mirage walks over. Dave Mirage was the owner of Champion Porsche and Champion Audi in Miami, Boca Raton, somewhere down there. He was a huge racing fan and ended up running the Audi prototype team. Dave Mirage was a big deal. And he comes over personally, taps me on the shoulder. Hey, Randy, what are you doing next year? And I said, well, I don't know. The team is, they may not run, so I really don't know. He says, we're looking for somebody. Throw your hat in the ring. And I'm like, okay.
Sure. Right.
And I never did a test or anything. I don't know how that worked out, but they invited me to come drive. And it ended up working out really well. I took the seat that was Derek Bell.
Oh, wow.
Derek Bell was retiring once and for all.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the unbelievable opportunity to drive an Audi RS6 in World Challenge GT in 2003. And my teammate was Mike Galati, and I had known Galati for years. We kind of grew up together racing in Firehawk and SCCA Escort Endurance. That's how it started. And I didn't win the first race, but I led it for a long time. At Sebring, the RS6, when we first started racing it, and that's relatively heavy, very, very powerful front-wheel drive twin turbo V8 quattro, but they did understeer quite a bit, and so it was hard on the front tires. So in the early races that season, we'd go screaming out in the lead, and even trying to be careful, the tires would just wear out from the loads, and it was actually kind of fun, though. Those cars were really powerful. The crew chief was a guy named Louis Malone, who is one of my favorite people I ever met. He's still crew chiefing races and still winning. A pleasure to work with. And one of the things he said about that Audi RS6 was he said, well, we brought a gun to a knife fight. We had power and we had traction. The front tires were a problem until Lime Rock. I think about halfway through the season, Lewis had gotten with the Audi Motorsport people back in Ingolstadt or wherever Motorsport is in Germany, and they had dug back into Group B rally car parts, way on the back shelves of the storage units at Audi. And they found center differentials for Michael and I that sent more of the power to the rear. Now, this for the street car, it wouldn't be stable enough. That's why they didn't do it with a street car. But for a race car, perfecto. It was about, as I recall, this is a long time ago, 67% power went to the rear wheels. And it eliminated the understeer the car had under power. It was beautifully balanced. And we got better and better and better. And then I won the last 2 races of the year. And we won the championship. And then I passed out because it was so hot in Puerto Rico. That's where the last race was. It was in Puerto Rico on an airport circuit. And they put us all in the cars and buckled us up and everything. And then we sat there, had to be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sweating, that South Florida, Puerto Rico, 92 degrees, 90% humidity. And I just got totally dehydrated in the car. And we won the race. And I was doing the interview. I go, well, the car was great. This Audi's got a good setup and blah, 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 blah. I actually did that. I went, blah, 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 blah. And then, and he put his arm around me, and I was done. I had lost it. But I was okay. 5 minutes later, give me a couple bottles of water. But it was a thrilling finish to that season. And I won the driver championship. Audi won the manufacturer championship. The season was a huge success for us.
That's excellent. That's great. And that was not your only Audi season, right? So you followed that, and that was certainly not your only Audi car, right? You've driven almost everything with 4 rings on it. Have you not?
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of S4s, the B4, I think, the turbo, B6 turbo, had the opportunity to drive an S4 from Champion Racing, one of the cars that Michael Galati and Derek Bell were driving before the RS6 at Road Atlanta in 2004. We were going for the championship. I'd had a problem at Mosport, and Galati was the guy doing better in the points as a result of what I did wrong going off there. And so I was kind of supporting him. And at the end of the season, Audi was working to win the manufacturer title again in 2004. And the cars were very different. The rules guys had really clamped down on our power because we had a power advantage. But they let us have bigger tires. So we had less power and better handling. And it was still a good, close race. But I actually liked it better when we had more power. But we got down to the last race, and Audi hired P.D. Cunningham to come in and drive with us. And he was given the option to run the S4 from before or the RS6, basically my car. Throughout practice, he ran both of them. And then before qualifying, I think it was, he chose the RS6. Well, the S4 we had not been running that for 2 years. So the RS6 we were winning, and it got more and more restricted, right? Well, the S4 had not. And I'm thinking, And this is what Audi was thinking too, Champion Racing. That S4 might be competitive. And so at the last minute, I got stuck in the S4. And let's see, for some reason, I had to start last. And so we get going in the race. Away we go. And I'm thinking, you know what? This car's pretty good, but it's loose. It had so much oversteer. And I mean, I know it's all-wheel drive, but I don't like too much oversteer. I like a balanced car. But the thing was good. And I'm moving up, moving up, moving up. And I'm going to pick on Cunningham here. I'm going to say he was maybe fourth or fifth in the race. And Galati was ahead of him. And I caught him on the last lap from last. The S4 was pretty darn good. I'm telling you, Joe, if it hadn't been so loose, I would have. I don't think I ever drove the car before the race. If it had not been so loose, I think I could have gone all the way to the front. It had not been restricted. It was as fast as it was in the old days. And so I catch Cunningham last lap. I follow him all the way down the straight at Road Atlanta, and I'm the regular driver. I'm in the points. We're all on the same team. And in the last corner, I go inside to pass him, and he moves inside to block me. I'm like, Peter, really? He didn't want me to beat him, finish ahead. I wasn't in the same car. The S4 was actually better now after the RS6 had been so restricted. I mean, Lewis had trouble turning down the boost enough to reach the power level that they wanted. It was less than stock. And because those things made 450 stock. They're really cool car. I'm not sure what generation you call it. Maybe you would know, Joe, a 2003 RS6.
2003 RS6. Yeah. You're catching me off guard here. Yeah. See
Cool
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of that, and you know, the connection between the race cars and the road cars, right? How much of that DNA do you see? You've driven them both, obviously, right? How much of that DNA do you see kind of cross pollinate between, you know, what's on the racetrack versus what people can park in their own garage?
Well, let's start with the Audis back in 2003. That car was very much an RS6 with shock springs and bars and a roll cage. It was not super highly modified. It was a real Audi. And that it was the only car in the series that was all-wheel drive. And they had standing starts, which was an incredible advantage. I'm amazed they let us get away with that, you know, but they wanted Audi in the series. It was great to have a factory team, factory sponsored in the series. But we did well. We won the championships, both of them. So the next year in 04, they painted it just like the Audi R8 prototypes that were running at the time. They had to make sure that we were worthy, and we were. What a great team. I still have some great friends from those days. We made a good team. We made a good team. I remember I was supposed to hold off the Viper for him at Laguna in 2004. And we're going up to the corkscrew, and Tommy Archer is in this Viper, and he's caught me, and Galati's ahead of me. And I want to make it, you know, I don't want to block him, but I'm not going to make it easy for him to get by. And one thing we did not have on the Audi was ABS. Well, if you've ever raced Laguna, when you go up to the corkscrew, that brake zone is not straight. You're curving and you're light. You come up on top of that hill in a powerful car, and the Audis were going good up that hill. World Challenge GT was probably 500 horse. And I went as deep as I could, man. I was going to hold off that Viper. The sorry son of a gun drove right up next to me on the inside and stopped and passed me and went right through that corner. I was like, wow, nice job. You know what? That's what a good pass is like from a pro. You just feel like you just got eaten by a bear. Like, there's nothing I could have done about that. He lined it up. He knew what he was doing. He stuck it in. He had an advantage and made it work. In order to make a safe, proper pass, you must have some advantage. This is where so many racers get in trouble, is they just say, I'm going to pass this guy, or I have to pass him. It's the last lap. And so they just dive down the inside. But if you don't have an advantage, you're not going to make it. You're going to hit that guy or that gal unless they move. And that's a bad pass. When you make a pass attempt that forces the car ahead to get out of your way, that is a bad pass. Because what if they don't? And you do that to me a couple of times, I'm not getting out of your way anymore. It's going to be screw you, buddy. Nope. And, sometimes you got to kind of
right.
protect
Got to get your elbows out. Yeah.
Elbows out. Yeah. Like, oh, no, you don't.
Right.
You're not doing that to me.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So not necessarily, Audi specific, but you've touched on, a couple of things when you're, driving a new track, driving a new car. So with your experience, how do you approach that? You mentioned earlier, you got in that Audi, I think it was the S4, you took it on the track for the first time in a race, never been in the car before, right? How do you treat that, right? How do you just jump in that new to you car and get the most out of it?
Soft hands. I ramp it up, but I ramp it up fast. Soft hands. The inputs are a little bit gentle, so I don't get any rude surprises, because I've gotten in cars before where I drive down and turn for the corner and the thing snaps sideways. I'm like, whoa! I learned not to do that. Gentle inputs and then ramp it up. If it's inspiring confidence, then I drive it a little bit faster. And that has worked out really well for me. And the longer I've driven, the more gentle I am with inputs, especially at first. I do not like surprises at the wheel. A good handling car practically drives itself. If you're having to correct this all the time and you're sweating and you're pumping up your forearms, that car doesn't handle right. I pit. I adjust something because this thing is right. And so that's how I adapt quickly to cars, is by being gentle with the inputs until I feel whether I can trust it, whether it's got balance and can be trusted. A good example of that is a Dodge Viper. Dodge Vipers cannot be trusted. Now, many people like that because it is a challenge. I remember when we were testing them with Motor Trend, every time we tracked one, it was a handful. Man, you had to. And I said, you know what? The tests I did with Motor Trend at first were called Best Driver's Car. And I remember we had a Viper, and I said, this is not the best driver's car, but you know what? It does demand the best from the driver. Maybe that's a reason to like the car. It has personality. Viper ACRX, the very last Viper, they fixed it. This car it came out in 1990, I believe. And, they had different generations, but somehow that personality persisted and they were proud of it. I tested a car with them, made some comments on it, and it was the TA model. There was a Viper TA somewhere in the teens. We got the production car lap record at Laguna with it over the Corvette. And that car was better, but it was still a nervous car. Viper's the only car I've ever driven where you rev it out in one of the lower gears, like say second, you rev it out, and when you shift, you have to lift off, pull a gear, and shift, right? The car yaws. You ever driven one?
I have not driven a Viper. I have not driven a Viper.
They have this big V10 that goes and it's so powerful. And it goes, and then when you go to shift, oh, I'm like, wow, what was that? I've never felt a car do that. Yeah, I mean, it rotates when you lift off to shift.
Wow. Wow.
But then the last one, the very last car, which might have been a 19, it was so good. And I think part of the reason was the Bilstein shocks. They had special adjustable Bilstein shocks because I thought they'd done geometry and all kinds of things. It turned into a puppy dog. There was a classic moment. I'm coming out of the turn 11 hairpin at Laguna in the Viper, second gear in a small power oversteer with one hand. And I wave it, I look over at the camera and I go, look, Ma, one hand. Every other Viper had been like white knuckle,
White
like,
knuckle, right. Right. Exactly.
Oh, shoot.
That's
Wait,
awesome. So
I want to tell you something else. You
yeah.
asked about street cars versus race cars.
Yes.
The journalism life over there at Motor Trend and now with Haggerty, I do Haggerty videos on their YouTube channel. It's given me some amazing opportunities. One of which was, believe it or not, I drove the Audi R19 that won at Le Mans at a track called Misano. Incredible opportunity. And it was the same car. It was still dirty.
Wow.
They're going to put it in the museum with all the rubber marks and everything
Right.
still on it.
Right.
I think that's so cool.
That is super cool.
I got to actually drive that car, and I was reasonably quick in the slow corners, but in the fast ones, I was like 20 miles an hour off because it has so much downforce. Yeah, and I got like 2-3 lap sessions or something. I'm not going to go wreck this car.
Was that the quickest race car you've ever driven?
No, but it was close because guess what? A year or two later, I drove the Porsche 919 that won at Le Mans, and they were probably neck and neck. I think the way it felt to me was I had all the hybrid electric power, but the boost was turned down. So the thing would go like a rocket to about 180 miles an hour and then whoop, level off. So it'd be like,
you hit the rev limiter, right? Just stop it, just the speed limit, right? Just nothing more.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
Joe, the opportunities, though, to get to drive these cars, this was in Spain at a beautiful circuit that I had not heard much about with a long straightaway. And that's why they leveled it off. Even though they didn't let very many journalists drive these cars. I think there were maybe 5 people who were licensed pro racers at the same time. Not necessarily pro drivers, but had a pro license. That's 2 very different things.
Right.
And I'm really proud, Joe. There's not very many people who actually get hired and paid to drive race cars. I did not bring sponsorships. I got hired because I fit in whatever they wanted. I drove for Porsche, for Audi, for Mazda, and for, believe it or not, Volvo. And that is a very high honor. And I'm proud of that in my career, that I had those factory contracts. And I got hooked up with some really good teams and engineers. At that level, you need a good engineer.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and you made it, like you said, you didn't bring the sponsors, you made it on your talent. I
don't think that happens anymore. The money just blows my mind. I don't think there's any way to do what I did then. And like what's the lowest level Pro Series right now? Maybe MX5 Cup?
Yeah, cup
Maybe
racing.
SROTC? Well, those cars are going on $100,000, and the MX-5s, wow, they wreck those things.
I was at last in 2025. I was at the Rolex 24, just as a spectator was watching, and the day before the race was the Spec Miata race. 30 cars in the field, turn one, lap one, 18 Miatas were wiped out. Right? It was just right, just half the field gone in turn one. Right?
Two guys up in the front, I don't know what happened, but one of them hit the other one and turned them, and they bounced off the wall right into the field. Horrifying. I'm like, come on, you guys can't even go straight or almost straight.
Right. Mostly straight.
Coming off the tri-oval.
Right.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
Crazy.
But boy, the races are exciting. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Oh, close.
Spec Miata racing everywhere is crazy. Yeah, it's really fun to watch. It's very fun to watch. And then on the other side of things, you had mentioned, the last couple of race cars. You mentioned the 919 and some others with hybrid technology, and you can see that in more and more of the street cars now, right? The most manufacturers, Audi's most recently, right, with the new RS5 is going to be a plug-in hybrid. They gain some weight. Obviously, they gain quite a bit of weight with that technology, but they also gain power and so forth. What's your thoughts on kind of that move to the hybrid technology in these road and race cars? Does it matter to you? Do you like the lighter cars? Do you like the more power with the hybrids? What are your thoughts?
Well, number one, maybe you've noticed in the last year the world has changed a lot, and I personally feel bad for the automotive manufacturers because there was a strong push for electric, right? At a government level. And, these things just don't happen. They don't just happen. It takes time and money and development to make a new car and a whole new kind of drivetrain. And right or wrong, that's the direction that cars were being guided by partially government control. And then in an instant, pow, it changed. Gone, over, done. I can't even drive my Tesla in the high occupancy vehicle lane anymore.
Right.
Took it away. I'm like, I want my candy back.
Right.
Oh gosh. I got a Tesla about 3 years ago because I wanted to have the electric car experience. I mean, I'm doing a lot of journalism stuff, and I wanted to know what it was like. And it's so funny because at the time, I bought a Model S that was old. It's a 2012, first year. And it was the cheapest good car I could find. I shopped around. 26,500. 26,500. Now the world has changed a lot since then. That car is now worth like $8,000.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
And but it's been a very pleasant experience. The instant response and the incredible smoothness and quiet. What have manufacturers been chasing forever? Making cars quieter and smoother, more comfortable out in the street car market. There's nothing like electric, just silent. And the power potential. This was a surprise a few years ago when I got to do a test of the Holy Trinity. Remember the Holy Trinity?
Oh, yes, sure do. Of course.
McLaren P1.
Yep.
Ferrari and Porsche 918.
Yep.
Hybrids.
Yeah.
The fastest cars in the world were hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
Because you take a good gas engine and you add some electric torque to it, and that makes a nice combination. And I had the incredible pleasure just a week or two ago to test the ZR1X which is adding a hybrid electric powertrain to a ZR1 that starts at 1,064 horsepower. What?
I know.
And the triumph of the ZR1 is that this power is controllable. They have done a terrific job. And adding the electric power, it was the same thing, just more of the same. And I am, in fact, a big fan of power. I like the way it feels. When I got on the gas, somebody had adjusted the lumbar support uh, pretty strongly. You know, when you can feel that kind of lump in not real low. It wasn't very comfortable. But I had just hopped in the car. I didn't bother with trying to figure out where that control was, right? And I got on the power. This thing is 1,250 horsepower, Joe. And I felt myself, I gassed and electric it. And I felt myself rotate around the lumbar support. I'm not on the seat bottom anymore because I'm being pushed so hard into the seat back. And I love it. That's how the RS6 felt in 2003.
Wow.
That was 450 horsepower. That was one of the most powerful production cars ever at the time.
Right.
Now 450 is like, man, it's a pickup truck.
Right. Yeah. People forget. Yeah. We've gotten spoiled.
Yeah. So I actually think a hybrid gas is a really, really good combination. The problem with electric power, one big problem is it doesn't last very long. Gasoline is a much more efficient storage of energy than a battery. Our batteries, when you go flat out in an electric car at a racetrack, almost none of them give you full power more than a lap. And it's funny, they also generate a lot of heat. They get really hot. They derate halfway up. And so now you're only got 500 horse, not 1,000.
Right.
Big Overall, difference. Though, I think that's good. I'm going to say electric cars are fantastic daily drivers around town and everything. Just plug them in at home if you have a home. In an apartment complex, yeah, that's a problem. But and the silence is good for comfort. When you want a comfortable car, and electric and hybrid cars make me realize how crude gas cars are with normal transmissions when they downshift. You think about a downshift, it is a violent, noisy thing. You get this tremendous jerk back, and your mom grimaces at you like, what are you doing? You drive like a bat out of Hades. An electric car, no, it's just like an airplane taking off. Same feeling. So it's really wonderful. But it's not as involving, engaging, and for people like you and me who grew up reveling in the sounds and the feel of gas cars and going through the gears, manual transmissions, I love them, and I miss them in electric cars.
Absolutely. Randy, let's jump over to some of your driver education work for like Audi Club of North America, right? So you do some coaching and instructing Golden Gate chapter, I believe. Is that right? You still doing that over there?
I have an old friend named Robin Osborne who's been a very active member of the Golden Gate Audi Club chapter in the San Francisco Bay Area for many years. I met her when I was racing for Audi in 2003. And Robin arranged, or called me up and asked if I would come out and just kind of be a guest at these Audi Club events. And we did the first one maybe last year. And it was one of the best days of my whole life. Being with you know how the Audi Club is. It's a group of friends. You all like the same things, and it's all kind of cars. I mean, it's the Audi Club. So it kind of focuses on Audis, but there's everything there. And the way it worked out was mostly I drove other people's cars. Selfish, selfish. And they were kind enough to donate to the Audi Club. And I don't know, it just for me was such a feel good event that we've done at least two more. They've been unbelievably enjoyable feelings, events, the warmth and the friendliness, and mostly what I do is just drive the car and let them feel what I'm doing with their car, and then ask them to please not try to do this all at once. Anytime you want to go faster in a car, especially when you've already been lapping at a racetrack, do it a little bit at a time. Small bites, small bites. 1 mile an hour faster is a lot. It changes that corner a lot on the track or the street. And so never ride with an instructor like maybe you, Joe. You do instructing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yep.
you probably had a student look over at your speedometer and like, oh, he's going 93 miles an hour in turn 4. I'm going to go 93 miles an hour. No, oh, wait, you're going 82.
Right.
A big step.
Yeah.
Not all at once. If you do the right things and do them consistently, you will get faster. And you may not even know it or feel it. And so focus on doing the right things at the right time. The timing of how you come off the brake. Brakes, you go on fast and you come off slow. That is a very sophisticated driving technique that almost no normal people do. You kind of have to learn it. One of my biggest lessons in driving came in an autocross in 1983. It was a pro solo, and at pro solo, they have a runoff between the classes at the end for an overall winner, and they do it on your time. It's like a bracket drag race. Your time's based on what you won your class with. Well, I was way ahead of my class, and I realized, well, in autocross, way ahead is 1 second. I realized I should not win by too much so that I have an easier time when I get into the runoff if I win. So I deliberately tried to slow down a little bit. Now, this is my nature as a driver, especially early on. I pushed way too hard all the time. And I was winning, in Melbourne, Florida, I was winning. But I'd have the old timers would be like, Randy, if you didn't push so hard, you might go faster. And I'm like, okay, what does he know? I'm beating him. But this event, I slowed down a little bit. I wanted to go like a second slower so I could get this easier time in the runoffs. So I go out there and I'm smooth and I lay it in the corners and I gas it down the straights and lay it in the corners. I go check my time. It's faster.
Right.
And I'm like, this light bulb just goes bing.
Right.
That's what those guys were talking about.
Right.
The friction circle, feeling that right on the limit of the tire, not throwing that car
right.
I drove so aggressively. I'm really glad I was autocrossing because if I was road racing, I would have wrecked a lot of cars. In fact, I just did a track day at COTA in Austin. There was a kid there in a BRZ 86, the GR Cup, Toyota 86. You know the little rear drive car? It's a fabulous car. Holy cow! He reminded me of me when I was 19. Unbelievably aggressive everywhere. He actually improved a lot over the weekend. It was a Chin Track Days event, and they have good instructing, and they actually gave that kid a most improved award.
Nice, nice. Now, so speaking of that, and with that car, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because I know kind of where I stand, but certainly respect your opinion. Would love to hear it. Uh, with the cars today that people bring to the track, right? They're getting faster and faster and faster, right? And I think kids like the one that you instructed are kind of doing it the right way to start with those smaller, less powerful cars. I think, in my opinion, you learn more in that than I think something with like a Corvette or something with, especially a ZR1 or something ridiculous like that, even the Z06, even the Stingray. uh, they can cover up a lot of your kind of foil, right? You get around the curve, whatever. I can still hammer it on the straight and go 140 miles an hour, 150 miles an hour, right? But I think you learn a lot more in the lesser underpowered. And in my opinion, you have just as much fun, if not more. I've never had a bad day on the track. I don't care what I was in, right? I've been in, a Mini Cooper, having the time of my life, doesn't matter. But I think folks get in this, I need it, if I'm going to track, I need an Audi R8, or I need an RS6, or I need, or if it's going to rain, I don't want to go out when the rain is I think the greatest track day you could have, right? Because the speeds are down, you're learning the handling of the car. What are your thoughts? What's your approach when you see somebody like, I got to get the most powerful car, or I want to add a supercharger to this car. I want more power, power, power. How do you approach it? What are your thoughts on? I'm just curious.
Well, being a grassroots guy, I respect the low power cars, and I raced them a lot early in my career. Like my VW Golf, 85 horsepower crank. Less powerful cars require that you do everything you can to keep your speed up through the corner and have the best exit speed possible. And a lot of power, the rules are the same. You still want to do that in a powerful car, but it covers it up. Like you just said, Joe, you're exactly right. You can go around the corner much slower than you really could, but then you come out so fast when you floor it on the straight that you don't even realize how slow you were actually going. You know, you don't understand why that fool in the Miata keeps zooming up on you in every corner. And so you can learn so much about preserving momentum and not scrubbing speed and using your absolute latest possible break point that does not hurt your exit speed. All these rules that they're more important in a low power car. And or if not more important, they're more obvious. I remember I drove Hondas with TC Klein Racing. I had a Miata that of my own that I ran in showroom stock. I raced a Toyota MR2 and a Toyota FX16 in Firehawk with my wife Linda as my co-driver. And thank you, Linda, for helping my early race career. Even though we're not married anymore, but I'm sure appreciate that. Wow, I had a fairly big jump thanks to TC Klein. He put together a deal for a series called Bridgestone Supercars. And I had a super cool BMW M5 race car, very well prepared. It was like a big touring car, and it was 500 horse. And I drove the car. The first race we did was at Lime Rock, Connecticut. And Lime Rock is a short track with deceptively fast corners. And I had raced there a lot in low power cars, and specifically the downhill at Lime Rock. In the little cars we were racing, Honda CRXs, stuff like that, even the Golf, the 84 horsepower Golf, was on these little bitty Firestone street tires, and it was on the limit coming down that hill. And I darn near wrecked it one time, went way out in the grass. There's a big wall there now, I just shudder when I think back. If that wall had been there in '85, I'd have hit it and destroyed my car, and that would have put a little hitch in the beginning of my race career. So it's hairy. Coming down that hill in a CRX or that Golf, whoa, right on the edge because I want to keep my speed up. And with low power, you have less control because you can't transfer weight as much, right? So I come down that hill in this 500 horsepower BMW, and I'd got some really good advice from David Donahue, who was racing it before I came along. He ran it in, I think, in the same series. He had moved on, and TC put this deal together. And he said, drive the corners like drag races. We were on Bridgestone street tires, RE71, but it was a pure street tire. So there was not much grip compared to a race tire. And with that kind of power, you have to apex really late and drive off the corner really straight. And this was true in the downhill, which is a relatively fast corner. I had to go in kind of slow, get the thing really into a late apex, and then open up the wheel and put that power down. It was easier. It was easier to drive the powerful car than the low power car because of all the weight transfer. Under power, you transfer that weight and it hooks the car up, and you've got to be going straighter. In low power cars, you don't. You're running near your cornering speed for a long time. And in a lot of ways, that's more exciting than a powerful car. And people who run spec Miata, for instance, they understand that and they like it. And that's why they run it, because they're on the edge of grip, and you're kind of setting your corner speed on the entry. You can't affect it a lot from then on. But I'll tell you this, if you do it right, even in a Miata in fourth gear in a sweeper, you can't slam that pedal down. If you do, guess what? You're going too slow. You should be cornering faster. You should be roll that pedal in. And that's an important lesson for drivers. And you learn that even in low powered cars, roll it in, and you roll it in one time so that you come in and you're only going more. If you ever get on, off, you got on too soon.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that is interesting for students too, because track driving is just so you're trained to drive on the street, and then you get on the track, and it's just so much. It's so different, right? It's so different. The way you brake, and a lot of I see a red light up there. I'm just going to kind of coast and slowly brake, or just let off the gas when on the track. You don't want to be coasted for the most part, right? Yeah,
Right. Right. You're going flat out. And that's what I love about it, the way it focuses the mind. I'm very ADD, except when it comes to driving. And boy, I'm just right.
it's great when you say the focus. So people used to say, when I was going to the track a lot more than I am able to lately, but it had the same commitments everybody else has, work and family and everything else. And I would go to the track, and the track was the one, people are like, oh, is it stressful? I'm like, that's the one place where I'm the most relaxed, because all I am is just like everything else. When you're at home, you're like, oh, I got to do the laundry and the bills, and oh, is this person mad at me? And I got this meeting coming up, right? But when you're on the track, all you're thinking of is the track. And it blocks everything out, and it's like a spa day. Like it's a weird way, but it's so relaxing, right? It's a lot of fun, and it's just you're totally relaxed because everything else has to go.
It is a wonderful feeling. There is some natural drug that flows through my body when I start driving fast enough for that focus to come in. I can feel it happen. And it's endorphins or adrenaline or some toxic combination of both. And I like it.
Right? That's great.
You are too, because you do this. You love the way it feels. It just feels so good. And that's even Steve McQueen in Le Mans. Racing is life. All else is just waiting, or something like that. And he loved that feeling. And all of us share that who like to race cars and track cars.
For sure. So what is so you've driven obviously tracks all over the world. What's your favorite? If you had to pick a track that you could just drive for the rest of your life, what track would it be?
Well, that's easy. The Nürburgring. It's so big and fast and long and different. It's really not like any other racetrack because of its size and its speed. There are a lot of very fast corners there. Like if you don't have 300 or 400 horsepower, you're not even getting to cornering speed in a lot of those turns, those gentle corners. And so the ring and some other favorites. I like Watkins Glen a lot. Watkins Glen has no slow corners. Not that I like slow corners. I autocross. But I can tell you this, the biggest trick to Watkins Glen is turn 9. Why is that, Joe?
Oh, you're gonna ask me. I'd rather hear Randy's answer. What's Randy say? What's turn 9?
Turn 9. If I got my number right, that's when you come out of the boot.
Coming out of the boot up the hill?
Yeah, up the hill.
Climbing the
and you rejoin the short course.
Right.
Turn 9 is the only turn at Watkins Glen that's not banked. So you drive at Watkins Glen, banked or uphill or both. And you got all this grip everywhere. And you get used to the car and you're like, okay, my car's making this much grip. I'm good. You come up to turn 9, you go up that hill and now you're on the level. It's flat. There's no grip compared to the rest of the track. So it's an easy place to get in trouble. And a lot of drivers struggle there. And my answer to them is slow down more.
Yeah. And you're carrying some good speed there. You're carrying some good speed at that. You got a good little straight before you get to that. Yeah.
You do. But you've got to go a little slower in 9 because you don't have the grip that you have everywhere else. I'm talking in terms of cornering grip.
Right.
And it helped me a lot. It took me years to figure out why turn 9 always felt so bad.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel bad. Just slow down a little bit more, make that late apex. And I like the banked turns. If I ever build a racetrack, and I hope I get the chance to design one, the corners are going to all be banked. I don't like off-camber corners. Have you ever modified your car to make it handle worse?
I try not to. Maybe by mistake, but not on purpose. Right.
Off-camber corners may reduce grip. We don't want less grip. We want better tires, bigger wheels, better sway bars, better shocks. I want it to feel good. Like Watkins Glen, the car feels so good. I was just there with a group called Corvettes of Massachusetts, COMSIC, Sports Car Club. And this is an old group. They go all the way back to the 50s, probably back to when the Corvette first was tracked, which was really like the second gen. And wow, these are some serious track drivers. They are good. The cars are well prepared, and it's time trials, not road racing. I liked it. And there was a guy there that let me drive his Miata that was very well prepared. I think it was an NA. Don't quote me, but it had a built 1.8 in it, and he had brand new good Hoosier A7s on it, and full aero. Wow, I can't remember his name, but he was a COMSIC guy, and I've never braked so little in a car at Watkins Glen.
Right.
Because it handled so well.
Yeah.
I go down those straightaways and just bah! And then I brake for like, bah!
Right.
It was a fantastic experience. So Watkins Glen, There's a lot of tracks I like. I like Sebring, my very first race. It's flat, but it's still so interesting because it's built still on the roads that were there of this air base. Really interesting, fast, fun circuit. Um, it's kind of interesting to see the modern tracks. I think they often try to squeeze in too many corners. Everybody's got a different plan. Uh, Coda, I like Coda, but I always complained too many slow corners. And somebody pointed out that's for Formula One, so they have a brake zone where they can actually have some passing. And I went, oh, kind of like the Miata I'm talking about. Imagine a Formula One car. The brake zones are that long, even
Right,
though
right.
they're fast. They stop so well. It's got to be hard to pass somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like Sebring. Of course, I like Laguna Seca. Some obscure club tracks. Thunder Hill is a favorite of mine. I get to run there a lot with the Audi Club Golden Gate, among others. I even borrowed an Audi R8 from a friend of mine who has one, and we did some hot laps with that. I took people for rides. Drove a wide variety of cars. Um, Last year in the One Lap of America, I drove Groton, which is a little track in the middle of Michigan. It's for sale, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe we can go
But
in on it, Randy.
yeah, I'd always heard good idea. I'd always
Yeah,
heard
yeah.
good things about it.
Yeah.
But it has a windy side. It's kind of tight with a lot of little hills and variation. And then it's got some fast corners, including a very fast corner that leads on the front straight. I like fast corners that lead on the straight. Give us some speed, all right?
Right.
Don't slow me down right before I get going. Give me some speed. It's important. Track designers out there, don't forget to give us a good long straight. Every track needs one good long straight. I
For
know we
sure.
like corners, but right?
Right.
Especially
Yeah.
in today's world, the cars are so powerful. And you got a new McLaren. You want to go 150 or 160 in that thing.
Right. Right.
And let's
Yeah.
do it.
Let's go. Yeah.
On the
Let's
other
go.
hand, you get over 150, 160, 170, that 3-point belt, that's feeling like dental floss.
Yeah, right. It's not doing much.
Like, whoa, I'm really not wearing, yeah, I want to feel that harness in the Hans. They're really getting too powerful for the level of safety in the car. There's no roll cage, no
I agree.
harness.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I was even thinking, when I was prepping for this podcast, let's think about what we'd be talking about. I don't know if it makes sense at some point to even put limits, some sort of power limits on, the cars that, the green or the DE1 or whatever those beginner students have. Because to your point, the Corvette, I'm not picking on Corvettes, just they're powerful and they're not that expensive, and they're pretty accessible. But if you're new to driving on the track, it is very different than driving on the road, and you could be carrying a lot of speed and have a really unfortunate incident, right? And to your point, you've got the airbags and the 3-point belt, and that doesn't, they're not tested for hitting something at 140, right? They're just not designed for that.
No, the
And
airbag
especially
only go off once.
yeah, and beginning students usually, they're not investing in a Hans, they're not they're going to buy the least expensive helmet, they're going to go out and try it, but you're still in this car that is incredibly quick. And and they're not getting slower. They're only getting faster and more
Only getting
powerful. So
faster with
yeah,
they're over 1,000 horsepower is becoming more common now. 900, 1,000. And a ZR1 is really not that expensive in today's world. That would not go over well, but I think we're going to get there someday soon. Somebody's going to draw the line. maybe insurance, track insurance, the stability controls and things help. But if you're going 180 mile an hour, you're going 180 mile an hour. And if you brake too late, you're not going to make it. I don't care how good your car is. Too late is too late. And unfortunately, it will probably take a horrible accident to change the rules because the potential is there. There was a warning bell a few years ago in California. I think somebody came out of the pits and got in the way of, I believe, a Carrera GT. And the thing went in the wall and people got killed. And that's an example of what could happen. Worst case scenario. I mean, track driving's dangerous. I'm amazed we even get to do this at all. We're racing cars, the aggressiveness of it and the amount of damage that can be done. It's amazing that it's still legal. And, someday maybe it won't be. I hope it is. I mean, the risk is part of what makes the juices flow. You know, we need that. My brother read a book. My brother's a lot smarter than me, and he reads books. And one of them was author named Alvin Toffler, I believe, and it was about the future. Can't remember the name of it, but he was a futurist probably in the 80s, Alvin Toffler, and he wrote that people are going to start paying to do dangerous things. Well, we've seen that, right? Bungee jumping, racing cars, you name it. Parkour, where you jump against a building
Yeah.
and people must get killed doing that because it looks very dangerous, and
Sure.
it doesn't always go properly.
Right.
And so that's part of, I think, the way we humans are built is
Right.
that, especially some of us, like me, we want that thrill. We kind of need it
Right.
as part of our existence, not just sit on the porch. I'm not a watcher. It's what I
Right.
like about track days and racing. I do a lot of budget endurance racing, like
Mhm.
Lucky Dog Series,
Mhm.
little Champ Car Lemons. I'm going to do a
Lemons.
Lemons race at Sonoma in a few weeks with
Nice.
Jason Camisa from
Oh,
Haggerty.
nice. Nice.
And because I love it, and I would much rather drive a Lemons car than watch a Formula One.
There you go. Yeah.
I want to do it.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to feel it and take the risk and manage it and take the chances because it magnifies life.
Sure it does. So driving, if there was any Audi that you could drive in a competitive event, what would it be? What would you pick? What would be your dream Audi race car drive? Have you already had it? Is there another one out there that you would like to be in?
I did some videos for VinWiki, little short reels, and one of them was, what car do you want to drive more than anything else? It's an Audi. The 1930s Auto Union Grand Prix cars with the mid rear engine V16.
16, right.
I would kill to drive one of those. I want to feel what that was like for those guys. A Hans Stuck, the original from the old days, like shifting it. And
Right. Oh, how they do that, right? How they do that.
I want to find out.
Yeah.
Tricky. On the other hand, I do know that narrow bias ply tires are very drifty, and they can be great fun. If you ever get a chance to drive on bias ply tires, they are fun. They drift so well at low speeds.
Yeah, that's awesome. I might have to seek that opportunity out somewhere then. That sounds like fun.
That Audi is a real answer. That is not an Audi Club answer. That's the car. In fact, I was at a museum in Mulhouse, France, and I go in there and it's Ferraris. an incredible room full of Ferraris. They're amazing. They're lined up. I'm not sure the collection still exists, but then I step into a room and there are the silver arrows, Audis and Mercedes. I think there was I think it was Audis, Mercedes from the 30s and the 50s, mounted like on the wall on a banked corner. And I was not expecting to see them. I'd never seen them in person, any of them. And there was a display of these cars, and I was shocked, and it brought tears to my eyes. I was like, oh,
Wow.
look at those cars. It's them. They're
Right.
real.
That's
The
great.
Ferraris were cool, but they
Right.
were all Ferraris. I was expecting it.
Sure.
And what a great feeling that was.
That's fantastic. Randy, thank you so much for taking the time today, sharing your stories, your experiences, your philosophies, and everything that you did for us today. For everybody watching and listening, you can always find more Audi stories, events, member features over at audiclubna.org. And if you're looking to get some of that high performance driving education experience that we've been talking about, I highly recommend that you do, because it's a time of your life. But check out our sites, the event calendar for an opportunity near you. And remember, you don't need to drive an Audi to learn with the Audi Club. So take advantage of that. Whatever car you have, you'll have a great time. Thank you for tuning in to All Wheel Driven, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, and the Audi Club.